Hey, what's up? Will Hamilton here. And if you're a singles player and you're unhappy with your strategy, and specifically your shot selection, a lot of times you feel like you're hitting the wrong shots, then I want to invite you to pick up a copy of The New Rules of Singles. Because inside tennis analytics expert Craig O'Shaughnessy shows you 20 new rules, new strategies proven through his big data analysis to have the highest winning percentage. And what that means is, when you plug these new strategies into your game, you'll immediately start hitting the right shots and you'll win more matches. So what I want to do right now is take you inside the new rules of singles so that you can see if it's right for you. And specifically, I want to show you the new rule for approaching the net. Now you can see on this diagram here at the top, we've got the old rule. This is the old school strategy you were taught that is inferior, and in this case, it's hitting a backhand approach down the line. And then below, we've got the new rule. And if I click this play button down here, the video pops up where Craig explains exactly what is going on with this new rule. So before we get to this video, I want to properly introduce Craig and explain why the analytics are so important. So take a look at this picture of a basketball court. The little red dots are the top shot locations in the NBA. And on the left, you have the top shot locations from the 2001 and 2002 season, and on the right, you have the top shot locations from just a couple years ago. And what you can see is the game of basketball has completely changed. Today, players basically only shoot layups or three-pointers. So why did the game of basketball change so much? Analytics. When the data geeks dug into the numbers, they found that layups and three-pointers were worth more than other shots. For example, let's say you make a 2-point layup 60% of the time you shoot it. 2 times 0.6 equals 1.2 points per shot. Now let's say you make a 3-pointer 40% of the time you shoot it. 3 times 0.4 also equals 1.2 points per shot. But what about a 2-point jump shot from 15 feet away that you make 50% of the time? 2 times 0.5 equals only 1 point per shot. That last shot is an inferior shot. And take a look at this picture again. You can see that jumpers from 10 to 15 feet, called mid-range jumpers, have evaporated from the game of basketball in the last 2 decades. So if you know that mid-range jumpers from 10 to 15 feet are bad shots, well then a strategy to get the players in position to take those shots, that's also a bad strategy. But on the flip side, if we know that layups are good shots and three-pointers are good shots, well then a strategy that gets the team in position to take those shots, that is a good strategy. So these analytics, this math, is why the game of basketball has completely changed. And when Craig looked at basketball, and frankly looked at pretty much every other sport, take baseball for example, with sabermetrics and Moneyball, you might be familiar with that, or at least the movie with Brad Pitt, Craig was saying the same has got to be true for tennis. There are got to be some shots that are mathematically superior to other shots. And when Craig dug into the numbers, the results were eye-opening. Craig realized from the pro level down to the college level, down to the rec level, down to the juniors, players were just taking a ton of bad shots. And just like basketball, if there are places on the court that lead to bad shots, well, we don't want to be using strategies that set up those bad shots. But if there are places on the court that lead to good shots, well, obviously we want to be using strategies that put us in position to hit those good shots. And when word got out of Craig's work, he was immediately hired by Novak Djokovic at the beginning of the 2017 season. And then for the next 2 years, Djokovic won 4 out of the 8 majors he played in. So the results speak for themselves. The analytics give you a huge advantage over the competition, whether you're Novak Djokovic playing Rafael Nadal or Roger Federer, or whether it's you at your level, the USTA league and club level. So chances are, right now, you're using a lot of old rules, old strategies that are setting up bad shots, the equivalent of that mid-range jumper. And inside the new rules of singles, there are 20 of them. So right now, we're going to check out the old rule for approaching the net, that's hitting that backhand down the line, and what you should do instead, the new rule. So let's watch that video right now. Craig, what's the biggest mistake you see players make when they are approaching the net?
Hitting a backhand approach shot. What we want you to do is up the percentages and hit as many forehand approach shots as possible. Let's go to the numbers. When players are coming in with a backhand approach shot, the win percentage is just slightly above 50-50. We're at 53%. Not that great. But when we're coming in with a forehand approach shot, that rises all the way to 76%. You're winning 3 out of 4. So the more we can hit a forehand approach, the better.
So Craig, the old way only got us 53% win percentage. How do we get up to the 76%? What is the new way?
Well, we talked about the backhand approach doesn't deliver a high win percentage. What we want to focus on is the forehand approach. So let's go through that scenario again. We have the ball coming to the ad court, and we want you to, instead of coming in and hitting a backhand approach down the line, we're going to run around that ball, and we are now going to target a forehand approach, and we're going to go cross court. That ball there goes to the backhand side. We are taking time away from our opponent. We move them over here, and it's much more difficult in today's game to hit a backhand passing shot. You can't get the same amount of spin. It's difficult to hit the same amount of power. We can't roll the ball. And right now, you are going to move in and cover cross court. The old way was approach down the line, cover down the line. The new way is to take time away, use the forehand approach, raise the percentages, go into the backhand, and cover the cross court pass.
Which is super counterintuitive, because if you're over here approaching, people are watching this saying, well, Craig, what about all of this space over here? I'm basically giving that away, is what you're saying. And if they can pull it off, too good.
You're exactly right. You can't cover both. You can't cover down the line and cross court. You want to use the percentages in your favor. So once you come in with power and you make the opponent have to block, which takes away their spin, they're hitting a flat shot, it is difficult to redirect that ball down the line. It is much easier to go back cross court and keep the ball on the same line, and that's where you're going to be sitting.
And when you do that, obviously you're over here, but when you come to net, just naturally covering the cross-court passing shot. So you're already in position.
Exactly right. You don't want to over-cover the line, because most of those balls will go cross.
So now that you know the new rule for where to hit your approach shot, let's take a look at one more new rule. This is the new rule for where to hit your volley. Because when you combine the new rule for where to hit your approach shot with the new rule for where to hit your volley, well, that's how you get to that 76% win percentage. And then after this segment, stick around, because I have one more stat to share with you. This might be the most important stat to be aware of when it comes to winning more matches. But first, let's check out this video. Craig, the old rule is when you're coming to the net, you hit your first volley into the open court. But that's the old rule. What's the new rule?
We want to go back behind our opponent, because the first volley is struck from around the service line. It's very difficult to put the ball away from there. Here's our situation. We're coming in with a forehand approach to our opponent's backhand. We already talked about that. It's the highest percentage way to come forward. The problem is, for a lot of our first volleys, we're only reaching the service line. So we move forward, and we're about here when we strike our first volley. So the situation now is the opponent goes over, they're looking to hit their passing shot. Let's say in this situation, they come right back at us. What you are going to do is look to this open court and say, wow, I can put the ball away from there. If you were further inside the service box, absolutely. But first volleys are not typically hit from standing in there. They're typically hit from standing around the service line. So what I want you to do with that first volley is to take it back behind the person on the other side of the court. And the reason is I'll just rewind, they've moved over to hit the backhand passing shot. Now they think that it might go to the open court, and they're recovering back to the middle of the court. What you are now going to do is go behind them. They're going to have to stop. They're going to have to get their hands and feet organized. And typically what is going to come as the next shot is going to be a lob. And that lob is going to come. You've gone first volley behind, basically playing it defensively. And the next shot, you're on offense with an overhead. It is by far the best way to come forward and hit the first volley behind. You don't have to do anything spectacular. Let your opponent have to hit the spectacular shots.
Now, Craig, one of the interesting things you said about this whole scenario, this might be kind of weird or counterintuitive for the folks watching at home, it was also weird and counterintuitive for Novak Djokovic, because wasn't he asking you where he should be hitting his first volley?
Exactly. We were preparing for the 2018 season. We're sitting down, we're going over strategy and tactics. The conversation started with Novak simply asking, Craig, do you think I should come to the net more? And I said, absolutely. With all of the work that I was doing, I showed him the win percentages. I showed him the patterns of play. I showed him video of him coming forward. And it was very clear that he needs to be coming forward because simply the win percentages were far superior than him staying at the back of the court. The logical next question was, Craig, okay, I'm good at coming forward. I like the idea. I'm going to do it, but where should I hit my first volley? And in this situation, we talked exactly about this, is that if you go to the open court from the service line, the opponent is going to run that down quite often. And in this situation, if you've approached to the backhand, you are now giving a running forehand passing shot. So it is so much better to hit that first volley behind, and then you get the overhead. And one of the things about Novak, typically he doesn't have one of the world's best overhead shots. They call it the Joker smash, where he misses a lot of those. But once he understood this concept of first volley behind, he's actually expecting the overhead at the end of the point. And this happened at the 2018 US Open. He was exceptional at hitting overhead simply because he was expecting it as the last shot of the rally. So these kind of questions come up for amateur players, for recreational players, and they come up for the #1 player in the world.
So that was the new rule for approaching the net and where to hit your volley. And there are 20 new rules inside the new rules of singles. Now you might be wondering about the logo, because it kind of looks like a pie chart you might see in your stock portfolio, and what's with the little green slice, and why is the tagline, small margins win matches? Well, I want to share what might be the most important stat to be aware of when it comes to winning more matches. So imagine an opponent right now you are dead even with. This is somebody you play right now. Just imagine that person in your head. And it is a 50-50 match. Whenever you play, it kind of goes back and forth. Like you win some, you lose some. So what percentage lift do you think you would need for you to not only beat that person comfortably, but be the best player in your league or at your club at your level? Because when Craig dug into the numbers, he found that the #1 player in the world, whether it's Roger Federer or Serena Williams, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, they were all winning exactly 55% of the points they were playing throughout the course of the year. It's like the magic number in tennis. And what that means is whether it's the pros, college, USTA, or juniors, you just have to win 55% of the points you're playing to not only beat that person you're currently dead even with, but actually become the best player at your level. You go from 50% to 55%, you win that 5 extra percent. That's what the little green slice is, and you are the best player at your level. And that's what these 20 new rules will do. We're gonna cut out the old rules, we're gonna replace them with the new rules and get you that tiny 5% lift, because small margins win matches. Now, if you've followed Fuzzy Yellow Balls for a while, you know that when we work with top talent like Craig or Martina Navratilova or the Bryan brothers, our programs typically run $397. But what I want to do for a limited time here on this page is let you get your hands on the new rules of singles for just one payment of $67. All you got to do is scroll down this page to check out, and you will have instant access to all 20 of the new rules of singles. Now, when you pick up a copy, I'm also including 3 awesome bonuses. These are additional trainings you get for free, and the first is called Crush Pushers with Analytics. Now, the pusher is like the most annoying type of opponent to play because they run everything down, they just moonball it back deep. It's really, really difficult to play offense, and what typically happens is you go for a lot early in the match, but then errors start to creep in, so you back off your shots, and by the end of the match, you're actually moonballing, you're actually pushing with the pusher, which is, of course, exactly where they want you, right? And then you end up losing a relatively close match, and you're super frustrated on the drive home, and you say, I gotta quit tennis, I hate this sport. Clearly, you can see I've been there. But what if we could use big data to figure out how to beat pushers once and for all? Well, we can, because Craig has dug into the numbers, and Craig has 4 phases of the game: serving, returning, rallying, and approaching. And for each one of these, he shows you the strategies that are backed by data, the ones that are going to allow you to beat the pusher once and for all. Now you can see there's a little red box around serving here, because if I hit the play button, then the serving video pops up. But if I close out of this and then swipe over, the red box is now returning. If I click play, you're going to get the returning video. And then if I close out of that, then and keep swiping, you get rallying. Then if I keep swiping, you get approaching. So that's how this bonus works. There's the 4 phases of the game. Craig's going to show you the analytic back strategies for beating a pusher in each one of these phases. This bonus, sold separately, would be $97, but I'm giving it to you for free when you pick up a copy of the New Rules of Singles. So the next bonus is Big Point Strategy. Now, most players, when they play a big point, they rely on their gut. But Craig, he relies on the data. And we've got 4 big points that we're going to focus on. The first one is, how do you save breakpoints? And you can see there's the red box around it. It works the exact same way. Then we're going to show you how to convert breakpoints. This is how you break your opponent's serve. Then we're going to show you tiebreakers. And this one in particular is really interesting, because Craig was a part of one of the most consequential tiebreakers, actually a series of tiebreakers in tennis history, because Craig was coaching Novak Djokovic in the 2018 Wimbledon final against Roger Federer. And if you remember that match, it was a 5-set match, and Djokovic had to win 3 tiebreakers to win the championship. And frankly, Djokovic got outplayed the entire match except for the tiebreakers, because before the match, Craig and Novak sat down and they were like, okay, we're probably going to have to play some tiebreakers. So Craig gave Novak a lockdown tiebreaker strategy. All of it was based on the data, and obviously that was the difference in the match. So if you're a Fed fan, you're not going to like this particular video. And look, I feel your pain. I'm a Fed fan, and I was part of this video. It was very uncomfortable, but the strategy that comes out of it, you absolutely want to employ this in your game. And then finally, we've got this last icon here. It says game, set, match. This is how do you close out a lead, because a lot of the times you might get up a break in the 3rd set. I certainly know I've been up a break in the 3rd set, and then that break evaporates and I end up losing. So this is all about how do you actually close out that lead. This bonus, sold separately, would be $97, but I'm giving it to you for free when you pick up a copy of the New Rules of Singles. So if big data can help us crush pushers, and big data can help us with our big point strategy, can big data help us practice? Well, yes, it can, because that is our 3rd bonus. It's called The Practice Court is Broken. And this is Craig saying, because certainly at the USTA league and club level, when folks practice, they are doing drills that reinforce the old rules, that set up inferior shots. Like when you practice breaking down someone's backhand in a long rally, that is inferior. So Craig is going to fix your practice court with a series of drills. The first is serve +1. The second is serve +1 approach. The third, serve and volley. The fourth is one called the 2 racket lengths drill. This is for working on your second serve. Then we've got a serve and return only drill. This one's kind of weird, but it's super effective. We've got a backhand return approach drill over here. And then we've got one called the perfect point. And when you replace your old practice plan with this practice plan, when you stop practicing the old rules and you start practicing the new rules, you're going to go from winning 50% of the points you play to 55% of the points you play, and you're going to become the best player at your league or in your club. Normally, this practice plan is $97 when you buy it separately, but you get it for free as a bonus when you pick up a copy of the New Rules of Singles here on this page. So all you got to do to get this whole package is scroll down this page and click checkout. And remember, you are getting the New Rules of Singles, which is a $397 value, and you are getting Crush Pushers with Analytics, a $97 value. You're getting Big Point Strategy, a $97 value. And you're getting the Practice Court is Broken, also a $97 value. When you add all that up, it comes out to a value of $688, but you can get all of this analytically backed training for just one payment of $67 here on this page. Oh, and if you're wondering, you are protected by my 365-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee, which means you can take all 20 of the new rules of singles for a whirl for the next year. You can take all the bonuses for a whirl, and at the end of 365 days, if you're like, Will, just wasn't really my thing, no worries, I will give you every single penny back. I'll give you a complete refund. So that's the deal. And look, if you believe in the power of analytics in sports, I think you're going to be thrilled by the impact these new rules have on your game. This is brand spanking new. It's one of the coolest products we have ever created, and you can get it all for just one payment of $67. And again, it's completely risk-free for the next year. So just scroll down this page and click checkout, and you'll have access to absolutely everything just a few short minutes from right now.